know your hourly rate. If you're an admin, your job is to be there for the agents no matter what. I'm going to invest the money into you, but I need you to invest the time. And if that's something you can't do, I'm okay with that, but we need to have that conversation right now, okay? Most real estate agents get into the business because of the flexibility, but the lack of accountability is the reason they fail. If you allow one agent to hold you hostage, it will make your entire organization toxic. So the moment I have a red flag, I don't know how much money, or I don't care how much money they're going to make me, they're gone. It's just not worth the heartache.
Welcome back to the Reside Platform podcast. I'm super excited because our special guest, Shonna Ruble, is licensed in 4 states. Did you hear me? Licensed in 4 states, owns companies in 4 states. She's a licensed auctioneer, a high performer at all levels. You're going to want to pay attention and take notes. And so I'm here with my guest, Preston, and business partner at Reside. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, good. We were already talking backstage with Shonna about some of her stories and how she came to be. And I think you guys are going to really like that. So Shonna, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And one of the first things is you own the Shonna Key team, real estate team. And you were telling me, I was like, so is your last name Key? So how did that come about?
So we know people like to do business with people. So we knew we needed to have my name in the name of the company. But what we really wanted to do is also have a name that represented the team members. So my team members, they got together. It was up to them to pick what they wanted our name to be other than Shonna. And it took them about 2 weeks. We were almost Shonna Performance Group, Shonna Elite. And after 2 weeks, someone Googled the word key, and actually one of the definitions they got said all the components working together. So they decided that they wanted the word key to represent them. So that's how we came up with the name Shonna Key Team.
That's cool. And when you talk about that, and that must tie into your value set, your mission, your vision. And you were talking to us about how everything is working towards the team. And for the people that don't know who you are, what are all the things you're currently working on now? I said you're in 4 states, you're an auctioneer. Give us a breakdown, not to brag or to impress people, just to impress upon us. What are you working on right now? And then we can go back and figure it out.
Yeah. So we have our Shonna Key team, which is our team. And then we have Freedom Real Estate, which is our brokerage, because we are, not affiliated with anyone. So Freedom is the brokerage, and we have Shonna Key team. And we also have a sister company, and that is Freedom Farm and Ranch, because we're in Montana. So it just made sense to have a farm and ranch division. But we also have Apex Property Management, because we know being an investor, that's important. That, a lot of times those investors are needing an agent when they're wanting to exit or, get out of the rental industry. So we have Apex Property Management. We also have Twilight Technology, and that's actually 2 real estate schools here in the state of Montana. We're getting ready to open up a mortgage company and an insurance company. So our goal is to have like a one-stop shop for our consumers and have all your real estate needs under one roof.
How do you manage?
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
How do you manage all that?
Do you know, as much as I would like to think I'm a legend in my own mind and a rock star, I'm really not. The people, right? Like there's not a problem we're ever going to face in being a business owner of a team or brokerage that if we don't have the right people, it doesn't solve the problem. And what I found is I hire really, really smart people, and they make me look really good. But they're the ones that does majority of the work. And so just I made the right hires along the way. Now, don't get me wrong, like there's been some uphill battles, and it's not something that happened overnight, and we're all the time adding people into our organization. But to manage all that, because what I also did not say is I have 2 children, and we also own investment properties together, like Airbnbs. So we also have that. And believe it or not, that probably takes up majority of my time. And so the value of just having a phenomenal ops team behind you is priceless.
But where did that start? Where did that come from? Because, a lot of people listen to this, they're top producers in their own right. They solopreneurs, and they know they're experts in their craft. They're very skillful, selling 40, 50, 60, 100 homes on their own, but haven't made that hire. What do you say to that person that hasn't made that first hire?
Get over yourself, get over your ego. We think oftentimes, not everyone, right? Like I can only speak from my opinion, but in my mind, I thought nobody's going to offer customer service as good as I do. No one's going to do the marketing how I want that done. And also, I thought I was so busy that I could not slow down to actually train and teach someone to do things how I want it done. And what I realized was a couple of things happened to me in my life and made me realize a few things, actually. One, people don't care they just want great customer service. And if I stretch myself so thin, I can't really show up for them and be the best I can be. So when I actually started giving away the control and allowing someone else to take that control, it's amazing how my business grew from word of mouth, because everybody's like, oh, Shonna over at Shonna Key Team, they do a great job. She has a transaction coordinator and a listing manager. And so I was actually able to give better customer service to my clients. But also along the way, my mom became terminally ill. And that's the day I really understood the value of having leverage behind me. So one day I'm told my mom has maybe about 2 months left to live. And I go into my office and I went in and I said, hey guys, I'm going home to be a daughter. And I said, if I have a company to come back to, that's great. But if I don't, I'm okay with that. I can always rebuild. And I walked out that door. That was in August. I put PJs on. I brought my mom home to pass, and I stayed in a hospital bed with her and got to make sure she had her last days on earth was filled with love. And then I had to fly back to Virginia, handle her estate. And then it was in January, and then I ended up in the hospital with COVID. So I walked out of my office in August. I stepped back in my office for 1 week in December, and then I did not return until February. And when I came back, it was chaotic. It was just a mess. Like I realized I did not do a very good job at building the people around me. So I took my team that year and I stripped it down to my 3 original team members who came up with the name Key. And I said, okay, let's go rebuild. That was in March. By that year, we were the #1 real estate team in the state of Montana in units and in volume. And so what it made me realize is, one, I can't do it all by myself. But if you really just will give up that control and, like I said, the ego of thinking nobody can't do it as great as you, what I found is if they can do it at like 80% good, I'm good with that, right? They don't have to be at 100, because I no longer am stressing out, answering the phones. I'm actually present with my kids. I'm getting to live a life by design, and I'm getting to change and pour into more people's lives because I took a step back and I realized I could not do it all. So if you're looking to make that first hire and you're like, what does that look like? It can be scary. And I'll just be honest with you, you're probably going to go through 4 or 5 people. But just don't give up. Like just find that one person that challenges you and kind of has those fierce conversations with you and go grow something great.
Nick, we just had that conversation on our previous call, was talking about, actually bringing somebody on to give over that ownership of things. I always say like delegate and elevate, like delegate the things that you could hand off to other people and elevate the business they're in. Most people, especially, but when you're hiring somebody, they'd be happy to do the things that doesn't make a whole lot of sense for you to do. So I think in leaders, I think that's the biggest struggle, is like giving over that ownership on things. Still do the things you love that make sense. Like I'll always be involved in marketing because it's something I love doing. But a lot of other things, I've had to hand off over the years, and it gets easier with time, but it's a struggle, I think, with any leader at first.
It is, but know your hourly rate. I had a coach tell me that all the time. He'd say, know your hourly rate. And once I actually realized I don't actually need to be in that part of it, but kind of like you, Preston, I love the marketing side of it. So I'll always be in that sector of it. But yeah, just do the things you love and let somebody else do all the things you hate.
It takes a level of self-awareness, and sometimes you need a wake-up call, like with your late mother and that experience. That's a very powerful story, that to get over ourselves and realize there's bigger things in life. We're doing this for a reason. We're doing this to be with family. We're doing this for investments or wealth building, but also like you have to have a self-awareness and be humble enough to delegate. And that self-awareness has to be like, maybe I'm not doing it as well as I think I'm doing it.
Right.
Like there's studies on drivers. I don't know if you guys, you know this, there's studies on drivers where they're polled and asked them how well they are as a driver. How do they rate as a driver? Are they below average, or above average drivers? Nearly everyone considers themselves above average drivers. Well, that's impossible. That's impossible because half the population should be below and half should be above, right? But we think we're really good at driving. And I had that same wake up call too, is where it's like, oh, maybe my customer service is failing because, I remember a past client called me and was honest enough to tell me like, hey, listen, you're not doing the same level of service you gave me 4 years ago, and I want to refer you to my daughter, but I'm worried you're not going to answer her calls. You're not going to show up on time. You know what I mean? And it was a wake up call going, whoa, wait a second. Is there somebody out there that can do it 80% as well as I think I'm doing it? Because I'm not actually doing it 100% that well.
Right. Yeah.
Does that make sense to you? Like you delegate at 80%. It's a great rule of thumb.
Yes, it does. I mean, but I think that's with any of us, right? I mean, if you're going the numbers that, like we were talking, these high producing agents, we're all overachievers and we all think we can do it all. And to be honest with you, we probably can, right? We can do a lot of it, but what quality of life are you going to have? And really, there's always going to be a ceiling on what we can do by ourselves. But when you just leverage that first person in there, it's a game changer. But sometimes it is a slowing down, like I said, and taking the time to actually train them or coach them on doing things the right way.
So when you came back into your business and it was kind of a chaotic mess and you're like, I'm going to rebuild this. What strategically were you thinking? What fundamentals were you saying? I'm doing it over and I'm going to do it this way.
We had a good team and we had built our team on the basics of real estate. So very, I'm heavy on prospecting. You make your dials a day, open houses, things like that. But what I realized is when the cat's away, the mice will play. And I just need to get rid of that toxic environment. So I really didn't come in like, oh, I'm going to rebuild. What happened when I came in is I call it parking lot employees, right? If I pull into the parking lot and I dread to go into my own office, that tells me I have a problem. And that's how it was. But problem was it wasn't just one employee's car. It was like literally 10. And because they'd gotten used to like doing things this way, and it was admin versus agent. And so what I realized I had to do is just go strip it back down to the basics and go back to our core values of who we are. And that is you make your $150 a day if you're an agent. If you're an admin, your job is to be there for the agents no matter what, right? Like you don't get a check. I love when my admin will say, well, yeah, but I'm not paid commission. I'm paid salary. No, sweetheart, you're paid commission. Every one of us is paid commission. Because if those agents aren't making commissions, I'm not paying your salary. So it was just taking everything back down to the basics of, open houses, door knocking, making those 150 dials, and going back to the basics.
I love that concept, Preston. You hear that where it's like the interconnectedness of everybody in the operation, that we're a team and that we rely on everyone to do their job. How have you fostered that, Preston, at Palms and different companies you worked at where it does matter what we do?
Yeah, I mean, it's just making sure they understand where the money's coming, because sometimes they don't necessarily understand. They think it's something.
Where's the money come from?
They have massive bank account to where, oh, we got that. Without those sales, without those transactions happening, they're not employed. So it's just an understanding of, they have a good understanding of, hey, if the commissions aren't happening, if sales aren't happening, there's a potential of losing where us having to cut positions and everything else. So I think it's just understanding that the agents, they need to help the agents when they can and help them sell more, because if they sell more, then there's raises down the road and there's a job. I mean, it's simple as that, right? If sales don't happen, there's no job.
Right.
I'm really curious about this school.
Okay.
Tell me more about the school. I mean, this is selfish. I want to know more about, how'd that come to be? What is it like?
Yeah. So, for us here in Montana, we only had a school that was coming in our area to have a class every 3 months, if that. And so I'd meet with these people, get them excited about becoming a real estate agent. And then, they have to wait like 3, 4, 6 months, and they need a paycheck and they need a job now. And so I'm very impatient. So like I'm 100D on the disc. I want things now. So I went and I found a real estate school that was operating in the state of Montana. The gentleman knows the truth now. Like I called him and said, hey, I'm going to be driving through your area. I would like to take you to dinner. I was not driving through his area. I was just coming up there to have dinner with him and talk to him about his real estate school, told him I was interested in purchasing it. Funny story though, he was like, everybody's tried purchasing it. I'm not interested. So I had to put my salesman hat on and my human hat and just say like, well, what's important to you, right? Like why? Let me understand why you're not looking to sell. Kind of, we went through that journey together, and he first said, I'll sell you one of the schools. And then next thing I know, a week later, he called me back and said, I'll sell you both. But really the reason I did that, Nick, is to get my agent's license and to be able to offer the free scholarship program to give back to our community. And so it's just worked out really well for us. So yeah, I mainly did it so I could get my agent's license quickly, and it's actually paid off very well. And I'm glad I took on that challenge. It's been a good investment.
Preston, have you looked into starting a real estate school?
No, no, not really. One of my business partners brought it to me, and it was at some point you got to say no.
Let me tell you, it's the easiest. Now, I don't know if I would start one from scratch.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This was from scratch. It wasn't.
Yeah,
no existing.
Mine was plug and play. I've never taught a class. I don't even know when they're having the classes. I look at the marketing. Someone else has the classes or actually teaches them for me. And what's also great is my competitors are sending their agents to my real estate school, which I host in my office. So they get to see our energy and how we connect and how everyone's always in the office. So it's just been a great recruiting tool for us. So I would look into it.
Not just recruiting, but goodwill and reputation, because those agents have a good experience with your brokerage and you get to co-op with them and just be a higher level.
Oh yeah. Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's been good. Just even the connections we've made throughout the whole state. Now, if I have a client who says, hey, I need an agent in Kalispell, well, I now know of agents, and we know their character and who they are and their work ethic. So
do you have a trainer? Do you have a full-time trainer or course?
I do. We have a full-time trainer that teaches the classes for me, and I'll actually he teaches the classes on the eastern part of the state. And then Cease, the gentleman I bought it from, still loves to teach the classes. So he actually teaches the classes on the western end of the state for me.
That's cool. That's really cool. And I think that's a huge feeder system. My family's been in real estate for many, many years. And my aunt, who's actually in town, she's 87 years old, and she's from Anchorage, Alaska. And she would run a real estate school within her brokerage, or her daughters do. And it's just that coming from a place of training and educating the professionals in your environment, I don't think you can go wrong. It's like, that's how we recruit, right? How do you go about training the other agent
So
at your office? So you do some multi-channel marketing with John, you coach with John Sheplack.
I do.
Yeah. How do you go about that? What's your process to reach out and build those bridges to your company?
So I'm not sure if I'm following you the question. Like, so how am I training
Yeah.
outside of my office or my agents?
Yeah. How are you reaching out to agents outside your office?
So, to be honest with you, we do social media, obviously, being with John, shooting videos, but I'm actually calling people and just asking them would they like to go grab coffee. And so I'm not going through like this big script, because what I found is that if I'm going through it and they're like, oh, you're just trying to recruit me, I'm really not, right? Like I'll just be honest. I don't know if I want to recruit you or not. Like, I don't even know if I like you. Let's go get coffee first. But what I found is just by asking them, being honest, like I say that to them. I know John's gonna be like, Shonna, you should lighten it a little bit, but it works. It might be the accent, but I will be like, no, I don't know if I even want to try to recruit you. But what I found, if I just asked them for coffee, I've built some really good relationships with agents in our area. And it's fun just talk to them, see what they're doing. I always tell people I'm an open book. And I think that's how you have to be, is don't hold your secrets, like don't guard them. I want our industry to thrive. And I feel like we're always under attack. And I feel like it's changing and it's shifting so much that anytime I can even help another agent down the street or another brokerage, I think we all win in the end. So I'm just going out and having coffee and talking and masterminding with everyone.
So are you originally from Montana?
I am not.
Yeah. I
I knew 12 people. So
I didn't think so.
any
How can
story.
you tell, Preston?
Maybe the accent. I don't think that's a Montana accent.
No, it's definitely not a Montana accent. But it's funny though, Preston, because when I came to start up my team, I require all my agents to have 200 names on day one or they're fired. And I could not do 200 names. I knew 12 people that was not in real estate. I had to go to businesses and get their business cards so I could build 200 names in my own database.
Oh, really? So is that still standard at your company, 200 names?
Absolutely. One, because they need to have people in their database to work, but also it allows me to know, are they going to listen or are they going to just be difficult? And so
let's role play for a second. Let's role play for a second. I would like to be on your team. I'm licensed, I'm eager, I'm ready to go. When can I start? How do you set that expectation?
Okay, well, first, I'd have my cheat sheet in front of me. So Nick, let me ask you this. Do you want to be a single agent or do you want to be an agent on the team? Do you know the difference?
I don't know. I want to do what's best for me.
Okay. So if we're there, I'm going to do a single agent split and I'm going to do a team agent at that point.
Mm-hmm. I like team. I've been on team.
That's good.
Yeah. So you already figured out you like Nick. Like you wouldn't have this meeting until you realize if you like Nick or not, correct?
Actually, no. Here's what I found.
Okay.
The people I think I'm going to love, I end up just not liking. And none of us has a crystal ball to know if they're going to be good or not. To me, if you're licensed, I'm going to bring you in and give you a shot, but I want to be very fair or upfront with you.
Yes.
These are my expectations, and we're not the right fit for everyone, and everyone's not the right fit for us. But this is who I am looking for. I am looking for somebody who's going to show up and they understand that we're going to have scripts. You have to attend scripts 3 times a week to stay on our team. We host scripts 5 days a week.
Okay.
You will have to host, do 150 dials a day. That is tracked. Also, when you get a lead is going to come to you. If you cannot work that lead, you're not allowed to claim that lead. If you do claim that lead, you are to work that lead within under 5 minutes. If you fail to do that, your leads will be turned off for 2 weeks. You will door knock every Friday, and you will host 2 open houses a week. Now, granted, Nick, I'm sure you heard that you get into real estate so you can have the freedom and flexibility, but unfortunately, that's why most real estate agents fail. So if you want to have a life by design, you don't want that accountability piece, by all means, do not come to my team. But if you want someone who's going to pour into you, train you, and want to make sure that you have success, we're here for you. But it's kind of like time and money. I'm going to invest the money into you, but I need you to invest the time. And if that's something you can't do, I'm okay with that. But we need to have that conversation right now. Okay.
Yeah. That's awesome, Preston.
Hey, you got a mic to drop?
Yeah, it's a mic drop presentation. She's done that a few times. I could tell you this. I was in the mindset of I'm the agent and I'm trying to get a job on your team. And I started sitting up taller. As she's talking to me, I'm sitting up taller and taller and taller. Like she's making me, change my physiology, right? Where I'm like, okay, this is serious. I'm up for the challenge or not.
I can't get into real estate for more free time. Like a lot.
No, like you can't. I have it framed out in my hallway that literally says something like, most real estate agents get into the business because of the flexibility, but the lack of accountability is the reason they fail. So like, it's not okay. And what's interesting is I think I'm being sweet, and I think that's a loving conversation with them. And my agents are like, oh gosh, that's so terrifying. Like, because I have the contract right there and they have to initial it. So I go line by line and I look them right in the eye and I'm that tone. But you know what's so great is they sign it. But my agents are in my office every single morning, right? Like if my agents are not in the office, I know where they're at. They're sending me a text. Hey, Shonna, my kid hasn't played today. Hey, I only did 2 scripts. I'm going to make up that next one next week. Because we set that expectation up at the beginning. Now, have I always been like that? Absolutely not. Before I'm like, oh yeah, like you're going to be great. Come on in. And then next thing I know, they're getting leads and they're not calling the leads back. I'm frustrated. And then we have the parking lot employee again, like where it's just as toxic. It's toxic for them. It's toxic for me because I'm disappointed in them. There's this like tension. And I don't want to come to my office where I feel like I have tension. So what I found, if I have that expectation conversation at the very beginning before you sign, and it does say, Nick, what day do you want your starting date to be? And you pick. And that's okay, Nick. I want you to understand something. If you come in on this day and you don't have your 200 names, you're fired. So can you get me 200 names by that day, or do we need to push that out?
Oh, so that's where that 200 names is coming into the fold.
Yes.
Yep. By the way,
their starting date. They get to pick their starting date, but on their starting date, they then have the expectations of what that's going to look like.
And this is so good because how many teams and broker owners over the last 3 years in COVID with, distancing, Montana may be a little bit different, but still we let people in here and we lack that standard. We lack the expectation moving forward. And so what happens day one, week one, day one, I'm showed up. I'm ready to go. I got my 200 Preston. We got our 200 names, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I calling those people to start, or are you giving me leads?
So what we do is from day one. So when you come in, we have your 200 names. We're going to send those to the VAs, or we're going to get that uploaded. Your day one is also your orientation. So it's a one whole day of orientation. But what I should say also, Nick, is while I'm waiting for the license to come back from the state, you're required to be in the office every day attending the scripts, being in the bullpen, seeing how the agents operate, shadowing those open houses. So my goal is the day your license hits, I don't want to be like, oh, well, now I'm going to train you on real estate. No, we've already started the training process. So when your license become what I call live, they're active, Then you're going to go join the MLS, and you're going to preview 100 homes in the first week because you have to know the inventory. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to turn your leads on. I'm going to give you old leads because I always say there's gold in the old. So you get 80 old leads that you're going to sit there and call that day. And then you're going to get on your mojo. And also during the first week, you have to make 1,000 dials. You start at 8 o'clock. If you at 8 p.m., if you're at 999, congratulations. You're going to come back tomorrow at 8 o'clock and you're going to do another 1,000 dials. So everybody has to do 1,000 phone calls. Once they get all that done, their leads are turned on. Because what I found is I used to try to teach and train agents on how to work leads. And then I'd do that and then the lead turn on and then they'd still be running back to my desk or to our trainer and be like, hey, what do I do? I just go ahead and throw them in there. Like sink or swim. I know that's not the right way. I'm probably going to get a lot of negative comments. But for me, that works.
Oh, yes, yay or nay.
Yeah. But for me personally, it allows me because I'm so active in what they have going on and we're in a bullpen style that what I love about our agents is my agents will come to me and say, we need more agents because we have too many leads and we don't buy leads. So it's not like I can go turn off the leads. And so they're all organic. But what I love is my agents will go over to a new agent and like hit like mute, say this. And so they're sitting there training each other in the bullpen. And on average, I've only had 3 agents to work for me that has not put a home under contract. It took them over 3 weeks. Everybody else is 3 weeks or less on getting a property under contract or a listing.
Wow. And this is the number one. Hey, everybody, this is the number one team in Montana. Preston, I know you were smiling over there. If you're listening to the podcast, she says a couple of things here and there, and me and Preston are just smiling ear to ear.
Yeah. It's exciting listening to it and just holding them accountable, setting the expectation right up front. What would you say the percentage of agents that are new to the business that join your team? Like, are they majority nicks or is it you get a lot of experienced agents as well?
No. So actually, I prefer new agents. And I know that's another thing that I'm going to get a lot of.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, we have a program for that's we enrolled 60 agents over the last 14 months that are newer.
Yeah, to me, I love new agents. Just because they're like a sponge, right? They're willing to learn. But you bring somebody in and they're like, oh, well, we need to do this and we did this. I'm like, well, you sold 5 homes last year. My newest agent last year sold 15 homes, right? Like we're in Montana, so we don't have like a lot of big numbers.
That's great.
But at the same time, I will bring a seasoned agent in. I'm very cautious about that. Someone told me years ago, and it's like, what is it? A puppy will stay with you forever, right? Like if you bring a puppy into your organization and you grow it up and you train it right, it's always going to be loyal. But when you bring in an old dog to your organization, they don't have that loyalty. And so for me, my agents, we don't have a lot of turnover. So we've been blessed on that. Very few agents has left our organization. Now, granted, I will get rid of an agent super quick because I believe one bad apple destroys the whole batch. And I've been around enough high producing, like John, Ben, there's so many high producing agents to learn that if you allow one agent to hold you hostage, it will make your entire organization toxic. So the moment I have a red flag, I don't know how much money, or I don't care how much money they're going to make me, they're gone. It's just not worth the heartache.
I hear this oftentimes. It's like, I just want to hire, with Reside and different things, Preston. It's like, well, I just need a couple more experienced agents. I just need to get a couple experienced agents on my team. And my thought is that because you lack a good training and onboarding and orientation and standards and systems, and you're hoping an experienced agent is just going to come in here and magically drop 30 transactions on your desk?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the profitability as well. I mean, newer agents, typically the commission structure is better in favor of the company. and looking at all the expectations that you have, if there's a lot of experienced agents, they probably will be like, I'm not putting, 200 names. I'm not going to do all those dials. What I've been doing already, I've had a lot of success with. Why would I do all that work? So it just, when you bring on, for us, AEP, we'll have 20 agents in the next class, and they're all been licensed for less than a year. To us, it just, when going through that, they create a bond. For us, they create a bond, and they're in it together. They're learning together. It's 6 weeks, so they gain a lot of respect for Tripp, who's running it. And it's just that bond. Like, if you go through something with a group and then you're like, one leaves, you're most likely you're going to give that one that left shit for leaving. So, we've had a lot of success with that program, and it's the newer agents. I mean, they're the ones who are putting up the numbers or making, 2,000 phone calls in a month or whatever. Those are the ones doing the numbers. The experienced agents, typically, from what we've seen, aren't the ones willing to do the work.
So we seen that. We did a challenge last month as a team. We had to make 20,000 dials. And what was interesting is my newer agents were out.
Well, I love your numbers. I just got to pause. I just love when she says a number. I know it's going to be absolutely, it just blows people's mind to hear this stuff.
Oh yeah. Like 200 contacts. I'm like thinking like, damn,
you're going to make 1,000 phone calls before I turn on your leads. I love this. Keep going. So 20,000.
So we did 20,000 calls in 30 days. But my newer agents are the ones that was pushing my seasoned agents to step up to the plate. And it's funny, in our team meeting, we were actually just talking about this. Not saying that agents that got licensed last 3 or 4 years are not good skilled agents. I'm not saying that at all. But how they did real estate is different than how a new agent is doing real estate right now. And so I went back to them in our team meeting and I said to them, look, you're wondering why this new agent has 11 pendings right now, and you're used to closing 40 transactions a year, and you've only closed 8, is because you got used to sitting and letting the leads and the business come to you. You forgot how to be a hunter. And if you're going to be a real estate agent, you have to be hunting. And so now what we've been doing, I don't care. We've been going to Home Depot and hanging out in the paint aisle. And when people come through with paint, we're like, hey, are you fixing up a house to sell or just like fix it up? And they're like, well, we're thinking about selling it. We've been getting business by doing that. We're checking out Home Depot, the U-Haul place. We're at a trade show. Literally, it's been years since I've been like, hey, so I sell real estate. You know anybody who has any real estate plans? Can I help anybody with? Because we haven't had to ask those questions in the last 3 to 4 years, to whereas now we're back in that hunting, like what I say, survival, like hunting stage. And we have more pending now than we have had any given month in the last 2 years, because we're stopping at yard sales, like I said, hanging out Home Depot. There's all kinds of stuff, but now we're just asking the question, who do you know that I can help? Do you know anybody who has any real estate plans? And so it's been really refreshing to go back to that, because I think so many of us forgot that's how we started in real estate all those years ago. And it's fun to kind of get back to that part of it.
How many agents are on your team?
So we're a very small team. There's like 13 real estate agents on our team.
13 agents. That's why I was asking that. 20,000 phone calls.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and just so you know, some of them are college students. Like my kids, I count my kids as agents. Yeah. But we had 9 during the 20,000 calls.
Congratulations. And it's so cool. I heard you say we don't buy leads. Can you explain that? Because this is another thing we hear building a team. I'm not ready to build a team yet because I don't know if I
don't have enough money.
I don't have enough leads. I don't know where I'm going to buy my leads.
Yes. So first off, if somebody buys leads, Tisha, all right. I'm not
for sure.
However they want to do it, they can do it. We just choose not to buy leads. So for me, it's about profit first. At the end of the day, am I making money? And so what we do is, our goal is for every listing we get, So for every listing we get, we should be able to track that one listing to give us at least 3 more transactions.
There we
So
go.
we should get another listing from that. We should pick up 2 more buyers from that. And so what we do is we take the listings we have, we really market them out there, and we're grabbing people's emails or information. Anytime somebody requests information on any of our properties, we have someone around the clock actually that watches. And so when a lead comes in, the agents know we get a text out to everyone. It's called Shark Tank. And it says, hey, we got a new lead in. Everybody who can work that lead has 1 minute to say Y for yes. If they hit Y for a yes, who all was on there, we have a separate section of round robin. So we go down the list, and if the next person on the list hit a Y for yes, then they get that lead. And they know that if they do not call that lead, not text them, but if they do not physically pick up that phone and call that lead, then their leads are turned off for 2 weeks. Also, we have a rule. If they don't answer, you hang up and you call them right back. If they don't answer, you hang up and you call them right back. So you have to try to call them 3 times. When they answer, they're like, yes, what? And you're like, hey, yeah, so you requested information on property. I just want to make sure you got that information. Especially if it's a listing, they're kind of mad. We're like, hey, look, this is how aggressive I'm going to be with finding you a buyer for your house. So like,
yes, you're
they
demonstrating your value.
We are like, we do what we call talk tracks now in our scripts, because you get that, right? Like when you're calling for sub owners and expires, we've had years where we haven't had a lot of expires, but now they're like, you're the 3rd person from Shonna Key team that's called me today. And we're like, well, yeah, well, there's 1,500 agents in our town. I'm glad at least 3 of us is working, so like we just have these like comments to say back to them that puts their guard down, because they expect us like, oh yeah, well, we're sorry. We're not going to say sorry. We're not going to apologize for being the most aggressive real estate team. So, yeah.
Preston, I love it. I absolutely love it. There's so many nuggets in what Sean is telling us right now. And the fact that you want to turn every listing into 3 is just you doubling and tripling what other people think is possible. Because our adage is, we have a mantra too. How do we make every listing into another listing and sell a buyer a home? Like, so we want every listing to create 2 more. And I just had the opportunity to audit 12 top teams around North America. I audited their lead sources, and I found a lot of them were selling more buyer sites than listings. And so what's your makeup? Is it 50% listings, 50% buy sides? What's your kind of mixture when you
That's one thing we pride ourselves on. We pretty much run a 50-50 business. Occasionally we will swing over more higher on the listing number. But if I do, it's like maybe 52% more listings. But we keep it right there at a 50-50. And if we see that number starting to shift, then that's when we need to make our changes. But we're very system based. Like if you could see, I have a whiteboard over there. It takes up the whole wall with systems and things. So we believe in inspecting what we expect. And so like if we're getting a listing and we know we're not getting at least 2 transactions from that in another listing, well, where did we fail, right? Like, is it a problem with the system, or is that a problem with the person we have in that department? And I think when we become owners, like we think, oh, well, our job is just to tell people know what to do. No, it's not. Our job is to go back and inspect, like, where did the wheels fall off? Because at the end of the day, you don't get to blame it on somebody else. You only get to blame it on yourself as the leader. So when that happens, I'm like, I failed. I failed you guys. I failed our team because I did not go track that or made sure somebody was not watching that. So, yeah, just make sure you have your systems dialed in there and track.
A big part of that tracking, when she's talking about the whiteboard, and you have to have good tracking in order to inspect.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, you always got to be changing it, right? Like, don't be afraid of change. I think that's where we all get into, well, we do it this way. This is always how we're going to do it. No, what got me to 25 deals looks different at 50. 50 transactions looks different at 100. 100 looked a lot easier. Now we're at 150. You always you have to be changing that, right? You need to be looking at your auto plans. Which auto plans are we going to look at and change right now? Because if you're not changing it, you're going to get stuck. So I think as leaders, sometimes we're like, oh, we're going to create it and it's going to be right. We're not going to have to change it no more. My team will tell you, they're like, oh, it's been, Shonna's not broke anything in about 2 months.
Oh, yeah.
She's got to come and shake some stuff up. Because I'm like, oh, this, and this.
Well, you have to survive. Like what's worked 2 years ago, what worked 5 years ago, what worked 8 years ago is a lot different than what works today. And we're the same way. Like people think that we have this conversion system down and it's set up the way, and we change it all the time. Like all the time, every single month. Yeah.
I love that. And I think that was probably some of the best advice I'd gotten was understand that it's okay. You need to be changing them. And another thing, Nick and Preston, would be as a leader, and we were talking about, and this goes back to the beginning of the conversation about how I get to have all these good companies. Be okay and understand who's on the bus with you at 50 transactions, probably is not going to be on the bus with you at 100. And who is on the bus with you on 100 transactions is probably not going to be on the bus with you at 150. And that's okay, right? Like they serve their purpose and they got you there. But oftentimes, even though we're growth oriented, we think everybody is, but oftentimes they're not. And we just got to be okay with that's where they want to go, but this is where I want to go. And if you don't want to be on the bus with me, no hard feelings. Like I still love you, but you can't slow me down. But for me, there at the beginning, because I've been doing this for over 20 some years, is I'd want to like nurture and keep these people and think like I'm failing because I let go my admin or, I had to get this. No, that doesn't mean I'm failing, right? Like that means that it's okay if they don't want to grow with me. But I can't slow down to run their race. I have to continue to run mine.
That's a great spot, I think, to wrap it up, Preston. Shonna, this has been jam-packed with, we didn't know we were going to go into expectations and accountability systems and lead generation and all these other gems that you dropped on us. And thank you so much for that. And
I'm like a squirrel. If you notice, I'll just.
I absolutely.
Perfect. That's great.
You were talking directly to Preston and I. You're preaching to the choir today. And I hope everyone got a lot out of this. So like, subscribe, leave a comment on the Reside Platform podcast. Shonna, how do people reach out to you, give you referrals, follow you, interact?
Yeah. So we're Shonna Key Team, and it's Shonna, SHONNA. And we're in Montana, so they can reach out to us on our website or social media. Facebook, I'm under Shonna Ruble. Instagram, just whichever way they prefer.
Awesome.
That's so good. And you will be seeing you in Lake Tahoe at the Shep.
Yes, event? I'm super excited. Yes.
Good. And so the people that are coming to Tahoe that are listening to this, come up to Shonna and say hi. Come up to us and say hi. If you're not making it, buy the virtual tickets, and then you'll see us. So thanks, everybody.
Yes. Thank you, guys.